June Park and Rec Commission meeting. First order of business, everybody should have gotten an agenda emailed to them. Everybody had a chance to look over that? Need a motion?
I'll move. Approval.
Second.
Okay, a motion and second to accept the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On with that agenda. It's been a couple months since we've had a meeting, so I need to go back and approve the April 8th meeting minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at those and any changes, additions?
I move we accept them.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded to accept the minutes from April 8th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Next, Park and Activity Department, or Park and Recreation Department Activity Report. Mr. Schmitz, Director Schmitz, there we go.
Chair Vorwerk and members, you have before you 2 months' worth of activity reports from April and May. And if you have any questions for staff, we'd be happy to try answering those.
Okay,
And if no questions, we would simply order those filed.
all right. Yeah, we will do that then, order those filed. That's for both April and May, okay. Next, the city council meeting recap. We've had several city council
Yes.
meetings since we last met.
Yes, thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners. It's been 2 months since we've last met, so there should have been 4 city council meetings as normally scheduled. And I'll go back to April 16. The city council tabled the location of the splash pad for further information. They approved the plans and specifications and bid process for the Recreation Center boiler replacement project. They approved the 2020 budget planning calendar. They approved drafting a lease of the Kiesling House to the Brown County Historical Society. They authorized nominating the Pollinator Park as a Monarch Way station. They approved the Herman Fest 2019 requests from the Herman Monument Society. And finally, they accepted the donations that you recommended they accept. May 7th saw them receive communication that the splash pad report would be delivered to them on May 21st. And they also awarded the Johnson Park Renew Project construction phase to Webb Construction out of Mankato, and tabled the element of a right field observation deck. May 21st saw the City Council award the Recreation Center boiler replacement project to the low bidder of Schwickert's Tectra America out of Mankato for $550,890. Remember that there was a substantially higher number budgeted for that, $995, so a significant over $300,000 savings to the fund balance. And then they authorized the non-recirculating splash pad to be placed in North Park. They also authorized conducting this year's citywide performance measurement survey, as they have been doing for the past quite a few years. And then they scheduled the 2018 audit reviews for 3:30 before the next city council meeting, which is next week, June 18. Finally, the June 4th city council meeting saw them authorize up to $150,000 of city reserve funds to be used for a right field observation deck in Johnson Park, and accepted the pledge of the New Ulm Baseball Association to repay the city that cost. And then they had a closed session at the end of the last city council meeting on June 4th. And closed session is common for the city council to discuss real estate matters. And what they did is they received the staff report from myself and Community Development Office and the City Engineer's Office for possible private land acquisition options for a possible neighborhood park in the Upper Cottonwood Street area, and the city council decided not to pursue that at the time. So that is all the city council business over the past 2 months related to Park and Rec.
Thank you, Director Schmitz. Does anybody have any questions for the director? Otherwise, we will move on to old business. Renew update. Director Schmitz?
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners. We'll start with Johnson Park. Web construction is beginning the process this week, including today. So it will be offline. The last baseball game at Johnson Park was yesterday, and the New Ulm Brewers were successful in winning that game, so that's great. But there will not be any more baseball played at Johnson Park this year. Baseball will be played down at Miller Park very soon upon completion of those upgrades at the backstop area and grandstand area. So, we're moving full speed ahead with the grandstand improvements at Johnson Park. We're also taking advantage of the fact that there's no ball being played on the field to do some maintenance on the turf, including deep core aeration and special seeding and fertilizing and so on also. And then the right field observation deck will also be constructed this year, not funded by Renew. But the substantial completion date is mid-October is my recollection. So any questions on Johnson Park? Let's kind of do one facility at a time, one location at a time. Any questions or comments about Johnson Renew? If not, I'll continue. Herman Heights Park is still in the conceptual phase, soon to probably move into the construction document phase. But I think we're all aware of the fact that the soonest construction would take place up at Herman Heights Park would be next year, 2020. And that the city council is also awaiting the subcommittee's recommendation on the retaining wall slope study, because I'm quite certain the city council wants to complete those two projects over the same construction season. And a reminder that Herman Heights is simply relocating Monument Street and installing the parking infrastructure, including parking lots and bus turnaround and so on. Should greatly improve the sight lines also at the intersection of Monument Street and the Center Street Hill. So then, I think we're also all aware of the fact that the 7th project of the dome has been discontinued, so the $3.5 million earmarked for the dome can be shared with the other projects, most of it planning to go at the recreation center, with the indoor water park, the aquatics improvements, the indoor playground, the gymnastics center, and the wellness fitness center. We have had, I think, 4 ad hoc committee meetings with the group looking at those projects and our architectural firm, JLG, and the construction management firm of RJM. So we're working on the conceptual phase. And I think we're real close to having that figured out. Then it'll go to the Renew Oversight Committee for their recommendation to the City Council to authorize construction documents be drawn for that concept. And the concept is a completely new aquatic center. It's turning the existing swimming pool room into the gymnastics center and adding an entirely new aquatic center into the south parking lot of the campus, still adjoining the building, connected to the building, which would include the 2 major components, lap swimming pool and water park, zero depth area. So that's exciting to take place there. We're also looking at the indoor playground to be coming into the facility adjacent to the aquatic center. We're also looking at the main entrance to be relocated from where it is now to the administrative office area. So if you can imagine, kind of not where the south lobby exit doors are now, but in that vicinity, you would be entering the facility there. And to your left would be the indoor playground and the aquatic center locker room entrance. Straight forward would be to the gymnastics center. To the immediate right would be the wellness fitness center. We're planning on continuing to use the Herbeck multipurpose rooms for group exercise, and adding the strength and cardio 3,000 square feet approximately to the Garden Street side of the Herbeck room area of the building. So there's been a lot of time, study, and effort put into the concept, and we're real close to having that concept phase approved, hopefully by the Oversight Committee and the City Council
Will
for
the,
Skillings.
will the aquatic center be able to host competitive swimming events?
My understanding is we're looking at maintaining the 6 lanes that we have now and the 75 feet distance length. Do you have an addition to that?
The lanes will be there for training, but the depth of the pool is not regulation for swim meets, because you have to have so much of deep water in order to host meets.
There's been a lot of discussion about that during the planning phase, and the main discussion was that there is no Minnesota State High School League swimming in town, and we have no understanding that the school district is pursuing that. The private nonprofit swim club has dissolved or gone dormant. We do have a park and rec swim program. But the need for an Olympic-sized swimming pool or State High School League certified competitive swim pool has not been found here in town. So there will be lap swimming opportunities, but probably not State High School League swim capabilities. We also do not have any diving planned for the aquatic center. We initially thought a 1-meter diving board might fit, but we're of the opinion now, at least staff and the consultants, that diving might best be served elsewhere and not at our municipal swimming pool.
Could you briefly describe the water park amenities?
Yes, a modest-sized lazy river or current channel, some high elevation flume slides, and then a zero-depth pool area where the slides would come into. Assistant Director Corbin, are you aware of any other significant components?
No, that hasn't really totally been decided yet. Just the main concept of 2 pools, one for lap swimming and a separate recreational pool. And the reason they do that is because they require different temperatures, or they like to have different temperatures, which is not what we have right now. And the features, the exact features in the recreational pool have not yet been determined because they haven't done an official, zoomed in, if you will, plan for that. But it's nice to have the 2 separate bodies because you have 2 very different clientele. The lazy river would be in the family pool, so it would be warmer. Could be used for physical therapy, walking, swimming lessons, all of that. And there was something else I was going to mention about the design, but I can't think of it right now.
One key, couple of key components with a new aquatic center is that it will be designed to maximize efficiencies and to minimize the amount of staff needed. so that we can, lifeguards can see the entire complex from any location, as opposed to, not being able to see. And, we should have the need for fewer lifeguards with this design, along with all new mechanicals, energy efficient mechanicals of filtration and sanitation and all that stuff.
I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about, the efficiencies that we could save. It's not necessarily that we're going to cut down on staff, but it'll be able to maintain the staff level that we're at, hopefully, or close to it. And the amount of money that we'll save with the newer, more efficient systems in sanitization and utilities. It makes the most sense to do it that way rather than trying to remodel a facility that's nearly 40 years old.
So another aspect to keep in mind is that all of our Renew amenities are, what I might call it modest improvements. These are not going to be the Water Park of America or Six Flags Over America or Wisconsin Dells or anything like that. We've got a very finite amount of funding, and we plan to deliver appropriate improvements for our size community and our population and the region. So that's the recreation center. We, the next step as far as gymnastics goes, we've brought them into the process. The three groups in town, there's the Turner Hall gymnastics program, the Newega, the association gymnastics program, and then District 88, the high school gymnastics program. And I think we may recall that the association and Turner are going to be merging, and the new legal entity will be TGA, Turner Gymnastics Academy. They will be leasing the facility from the city at approximately $5,000 a month, year-round. And then the school district will be renting time during their season from TGA. So, the consummation of that lease agreement will be finalized as construction, comes together and gets completed. And then the indoor playground, as I mentioned, we think will be adjacent to the new aquatic center. So, exciting times, lots of new projects, a lot of planning over the course of now into winter, and the plan would be to bid the recreation center projects out this winter for a groundbreaking next spring of 2020. Commissioner Skillings?
Another question? So will gymnastics be able to host gymnastics events?
Yes. Presently, the facility they rent on North Front Street is 5,000 square feet. This new gymnastics center will be at least 10,000 square feet. And they will be able to host 8 high school league meets, multiple team meets, and then, of course, the association or TGA, Turner Gymnastics Academy, will be hosting meets year-round. They have a year-round gymnastics program. So yes, it'll become kind of a regional gymnastics center. Any other questions? I think that's all the Renew updates, unless anyone has any questions or additions.
All right, thank you, Director Schmitz. Moving on to new business. First order we have is BMX camping.
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners. We have before us an annual request from the River Valley BMX Club in which they host a state qualifying race in midsummer. And this year they're actually going to be hosting 2 races. Under item number 5, it'll be a Minnesota State qualifier race and a Gold Cup qualifier race. It's the weekend of Friday, July 12, and concluding Sunday, July 14. And so there's quite a number of families and teams and competitors that come into the community for that weekend, and they're asking for permission to allow camping, temporary camping in South German Park, near that 3rd South Street area, just across the street from the BMX track. It's a modest number of camping units, between 1 and 10, and the club will be responsible for portable restrooms on site. Drinking water is available at the BMX track, and there has not been any problems with this event or this request in previous years. So I recommend you forward this on to the city council for their authorization, because that's necessary, as camping is not authorized by code in our city parks.
Thank you. Any questions for this? It's been done in the past and there's been no problems. About how many campers do they usually get? Do you recall?
Between, 1 and 10. Some years they have 0 campers,
Oh, they do.
actually, because we certainly have the state park here and other potential opportunities for camping. I think the most we've ever seen is 6 or 7 units.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we do that.
I'll second it.
Okay. There's been a motion and a second to allow the camping at the BMX races. All in favor?
Aye.
As opposed? All right. Motion carries. Next, we move on to donations. Director Schmitz.
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners. We have quite a number of donations offered to the city over the past 2 months, and let me read those into the record here. First of all, for the German Park Amphitheater, and these are all cash donations. There's no in-kind donations in here. They're all cash. So first of all, German Park Amphitheater, $500 from Jolene and Gary Cook, $1,000 from Dwayne and Cleo Boney. Then for the Paverstone walkway in German Park, along with other improvements, including the amphitheater, there's a few donations there. First of all, $100 honoring Howard and Sharon Zins from Michelle Farrison, $100 honoring Jake Landsteiner from Jill Hulke, $10 honoring Roseanne Shopacom from Dorothy and Herb Shopper, and another $10 honoring John Kretsch from Dorothy and Herb Shopper. The next group is for our annual Days of Play sponsorships. $500 from Mike's Collision and Tire Center, $500 from McDonald's, $500 from Clausen Plumbing and Mechanical, $500 from Wheelborg Chevrolet, $250 from Hyman Construction, $250 from Quick Trip, $250 from Citizens Bank, $100 from Mayday Motors, $100 from the New Ulm area J.C.'s, and $100 from the Kiwanis Club of New Ulm. The next facility to receive a donation is the Glockenspiel. The Glockenspiel is to receive $1,000 from Dwayne and Cleo Boney. Herman Monument is to receive $1,000 from Dwayne and Cleo Boney. The next group is the Rec on the Go Yoga in the Park Summer Program activities. $6,000 from Alina Health System and New Ulm Medical Center. $4,960 from the New Ulm Community Education, District 88. $750 from the Underage Substance Abuse Coalition. And the final 2 donations go into the Dog Park Improvement Fund. $248 from the Happy Tales Dog Park Group, and $127.27 from Pizza Ranch of New Ulm. So the grand total is $18,855.27. I recommend that you forward this on to the City Council for their formal acceptance.
Thank you, Director Schmitz. Nice sizable amount of gifts here and quite a diverse, everything from dog parks to music to everything. Everybody's got something they like. That's good. So, any more comments on this? Otherwise, like a motion?
Is there a designated use for the $1,000 for the Glockenspiel?
It will go towards helping to offset the cost of the final 7 figurines. The final figurines to be replaced from basically the original paper mache to the new fiberglass and epoxy maintenance-free figurines include the nativity scene, Mary, Joseph, baby Jesus, and the Lamb. We've already done the 3 kings. And then additionally, it's the Native Dakota Indian lacrosse player, and the beer drinker, the Stein raising beer drinker, and finally the Pioneer Woman. Those are the 7 figurines remaining of the 22 figurines for replacement at approximately $10,000 each. And then the replacement of the control system. We have the original analog control system, and we will be replacing that with a digital control system about the size of an iPad instead of, a chair-sized system. So that's the needs at the Glockenspiel.
And are there any developments for completing funding for the amphitheater?
That's a great question, Commissioner Sledadall. I was going to have that in my report, but here what we've got going at the amphitheater is we're in design phase. And as that, their conceptual design phase, we're not to the construction documents yet. As soon as the conceptual design phase or the concept is completed, we'll be bringing that to the Park Commission and then to the City Council to authorize construction documents be drawn. That's with our consultant Bolton Mink that the City Council has already awarded that project for design services to. I think soil borings are taking place this week or next week down there as part of the design. Fundraising continues. We've got about $450,000 in cash and pledges. And I think we're going to need another couple $100,000 for completing the entire facility. As opposed to just a phase 1, my recommendation is going to be to complete the entire complex, including the shade structure pergola at the top row where the handicap seating is, as opposed to just doing the phase 1 or basic structure. So we are still in the process of raising funds for the amphitheater.
Just a thought that comes to mind with the savings from the boiler construction project. Is there any potential there for reallocation of funds?
Well, that's certainly an option for the City Council to consider. But I imagine the City Council is going to defer their decision until almost, at the last point, at the bidding phase to allow fundraising, the private fundraising to continue. And so I think the City Council would probably, they have the largest, the city coffers have supplied the largest chunk so far. We have 2 very generous $100,000 gifts. One's already in the city bank and the other is a pledge. So that's 2 separate $100,000 gifts, $200K total. But the city has put in $135,000 to the fund at this point. So my understanding is that the City Council would like to see all other possibilities exhausted and the private sector to fully have an opportunity to partner with the city government on this project. And then in the end, if there's some money needed at the end, I would hope that the City Council would consider finishing off the fundraising need when the time comes.
To add just a little bit into Director Schmitz's, the boiler thing, we did save a ton of money, which was great, but those funds did not come out of the Park and Rec. They actually came out of the maintenance fund for the city in Nome. So highly doubt you'll see that money go towards the amphitheater because it was a maintenance fund.
Okay, any more comment on the donations or questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion.
I move we forward them all to the city council.
Second.
All right, motion and second to forward the donations on to the city council. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up, are there any staff reports, Director Schmitz?
Thank you, Chair Vorwerk and Commissioners. Well, one big staff report is, of course, the splash pad and how things are coming along there with the location being decided by not only the city council, but also the donor. Ms. Barbara Haraldson has agreed and is quite happy with the location out at North Park. You know, North Park is 4 square blocks. 3 of those blocks have 3 stickball fields in them, baseball, softball fields. So that only leaves a quarter of the park, 25% of the park, 1 square block, which is where the existing playground is, the sand volleyball court, the small open shelter, and the horseshoe pits. And that is the quadrant that we're planning to install the splash pad. You know, I think a mayoral ribbon cutting would probably be scheduled in August. It's going to take, you know, there's 6 weeks out on the manufacturing of these components. And then the installation would come. So I would, and I'm anticipating a ribbon cutting sometime in August out there. So that's the splash pad. Other than that, the significant improvements taking place out at the Trap and Skeet Range are coming to fruition and completion here at the end of June. You know, we have a Minnesota State Department of Natural Resources matching grant that's equally matching local funds of about 25 grand and 25 grand from the state, so approximately $50,000 in improvements of trap and skeet shooting out at that range. And that will be completed by the end of this month, by the end of June. Let's see, I don't know if there's any other specific questions from the commissioners. Next month, I plan to go park by park with a more detailed, in-depth report of improvements over the past 5 years and other potential opportunities coming to the various parks in the coming 5 years.
Okay. Thank you, Director Schmitz. Next, do we have any commissioner reports? I'm going to assume no. Other than that, we are at the end of our agenda here. Our next meeting is July 8th. And with nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.